Hi, welcome to the David Dotan show. I hope this is working now. Okay, sorry about that. We had a live stream, something happened during the live stream, and then the audio fell through. Okay, so we're good to go now, I believe. And let's get rolling. Back to where we started from. Okay, I apologize for the little inconvenience there. Learning experience for everybody involved. Okay, so since you didn't hear me before, making sure the audio is on. Perfect, audio is on. Okay, let's get rolling. Bitcoin positive 7.9, yen is at a positive 4.3, USD is at a negative 0.1, Kiwi is at a negative 0.1, Swiss franc is at a negative 0.5, gold is at a negative 1, pound is at a negative 1.5, Aussie's at a negative 2.3, euro at a negative 2.1, and the Canadian dollar is at a negative 4.4. Okay, Bitcoin, what's going on in terms of Bitcoin? Okay, again, okay, take it to the screen here. When we take a look at the screen here, Bitcoin screen, what do we see? Buy pressure is beating sell pressure at about 12,000. If it's able to beat sell pressure at 12,000, buyers have free range to where? That's right, 15,000. Okay, and if buy pressure is able to break 15,000, it's got free range to where? That's right, up top here at 20,000 before we see collapse. But now, are we going to see price just break straight shot up to the top? No, we're not. We know that there's going to be sell pressure here. Okay, we know that there's going to be stop losses, take profits, limit orders. So you better expect, okay, price is going to make its way to the downside here. Okay. Jeez, everything is so slow right now. Okay. Now, let's talk about it. Bitcoin, okay, we said for the reason why it's at 7.9. Buy pressure is now beating sell pressure at 12,000. It's now making its way up, okay, to sell pressure here at 15,000. It's likely got free range to that level, all right? And then we're seeing yen at a positive 4.3. Why are we seeing yen at a positive 4.3? The reason why we're seeing yen at a positive 4.3 is because it is the number one safe haven status at the moment. Okay? We know that there is money flowing into safe haven status right now. Yen more than it is Swiss franc. Why is that the scenario? Because the yen is seeing less virus cases spread. Okay? USD is stronger than it was. You know, every day it's getting a little bit stronger. And the reason why today it's at a negative 0.1 is because of U.S. unemployment rates. Okay, the U.S. unemployment rate went from 751,000 unemployed to 770,000 unemployed. Okay, that's better than in April at 6 million unemployed. So as you can see, the unemployment rate's moving to the downside. But with that being said, do we expect that to be a long-term scenario? No, we do not. Why? Because the U.S. dollar is going to see continued weakness. Okay, well, we don't know, okay? The reason why is because, well, we have elections coming up, okay? We have the virus cases moving and spreading. I do not believe that the unemployment rate will continue to the downside, okay? Especially for the next announcements, all right? What else is new? UBS, okay? UBS Bank, 63% of investors making financial moves before the election. Cash is king. Okay, what does that mean? 63% of investors are making moves. We were talking about why is the market moving? Why is one currency getting stronger? Why is one currency getting weaker? Because investors move money. What are they doing? They're liquidating off their higher risk investments or putting it more into safe haven status. That move, and when things are good and they move money from safe haven status into more higher risk investments, that is how money moves. That is how currency gains value and devalues. Investors making those moves. So UBS is telling us, hey, look, there's a lot of investors making moves, more than usual before elections, and cash is king. A lot of them are saying, hey, I don't even want to put the money into safe haven status. Just give me my cash. Remember I was telling you guys that last Thursday's live session? How even though safe haven status is gaining strength, how it seems to be less liquidity in the safe haven status than usual, okay? Now, mortgage income, okay? What I wanted to talk to you guys about this. So some of you guys know that I'm looking for a place to build an FXG camp, waterfront property. Okay, I'm looking for in here in Vancouver, so that one day we can have people FXG members over. We'll do you guys stay over. Of course, we'll learn and study the markets, and then we'll also learn how to be self-independent, how to grow and forage our own food and things like this. This is what I want to do. I want to do a fully self-independence camp, not only to rely on yourself for income, but also to feed yourself, your family, all that stuff. That's what I want to learn, okay? And that's what I want to involve everybody in. So for those of you who are members of the Forest Gentleman community, and you've been a part of my search for a little bit of time. Now, where I'm going with this is to get a mortgage has become harder. But you may say, hey, David, mortgage rates are lower. And yes, that is the case. But let me explain to you something. The mortgage rates, to get a mortgage now is harder, even though the mortgage rates are lower. And why is that? Well, first off, there's more pressure on the banks. Okay, think about this. When COVID came out, the banks were not a part of the problem. It wasn't like 2008 where the banks were the problem. The banks were a part of the solution this time. Okay, now the banks help with stimulus, okay, governments help with stimulus, but also at the same time, reserves are getting depleted. So what does that mean? That means that they have to be extra careful with who they loan money to. Okay, it's not as simple as it was before. So what do I mean by this? Well, it's all about cash. It's all about income. It has nothing to do with assets anymore, at least here in Canada. I do not know about the United States. I'm assuming it's relatively the same. I'm assuming it's relatively the same in most first world countries. Okay? But here in Canada, it's all about income. They do not care about your assets anymore. How did you previously grow wealth? Well, this is how you would grow wealth in a summarized fashion. Let's say you saved up money from a young age, or you started working and you saved up $100,000 to then put a down payment, 25% down payment on a $400,000 apartment. Okay, so $400,000 apartment, $100,000 is 25% down. Okay, great. Now let's say over a couple of years, this apartment has now increased in value due to market price. That $400,000 apartment is now a $600,000 apartment. So you paid $100,000 of that down, so you have a $300,000 mortgage, but the price of the apartment went up another $200,000, so you have value there. You used to be able to, because that's an increased value of asset, right? You used to be able to go to the bank and say, hey, look, my property value went up $200,000. Can I borrow $100,000 from you, and I'm going to buy then another property? Now let's say you then buy another property, and that property goes up. You then leverage that property to do the same. That's why when there is a massive collapse, you have developers going under like in seconds because they leverage all their properties to get to where they are. It's not like they're buying these properties in cash. It's not like they have cash for the down payments for every property they develop. They leverage the value increase on their other properties. But not anymore. That's not allowed anymore. It's all based on income. Okay, so you could have $10 million in property and an average income, and they won't even give you a $400,000 mortgage. Okay, it's all about income now. Now, what does that mean for the younger generation? That means it's tough. Yes, mortgage rates have gone down, but if you are in a city that's anything like Canada, where a one-bedroom apartment can go from anywhere like $600,000 to $1.5 million, but let's say on the low end, like even $600,000, $700,000 for a one-bedroom apartment is extremely expensive. Your kids here are not able to afford that. Okay, how are you going to come out of school, out of university with student loan debts, and then be able to save up $250,000 in cash, plus pay off your debts, plus living expenses, plus this, plus that? It's very difficult to do so. So what does that mean? That means that kids were relying on, not kids, I should say the younger generation was relying on wealth being transitioned down. Now, yes, that will help. Why? Because they can liquidate, they can sell. But that requires a lot of expenses. It's when you sell assets, you have to pay fees, you have to pay taxes, you have to pay income taxes, property gain taxes if you get something down from your grandparents and you need to sell to buy another place. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, yes, mortgage rates are lower, but it's going to be much harder to get a mortgage. It's all about income now. It's not about assets. okay, at least in Canada, and we're going to start to see that roll through. So what does that mean in terms of FXG's, my plan for FXG? Well, budget goes down a little bit, okay? Instead of maybe a $2 million budget, my budget's now like 1,500 or 1.5 or 1.4, okay? So that's what it means, okay? Because it's all about income now. They do not care what other apartments I own. They do not care, all right? So sorry for that little rant. Just wanted to let you know that the changes that I see that are happening, okay? Take it to the charts here. All right. Now, there's another analysis that I'm posting here that I just filmed prior to live session for the FXG, for Team FXG. Okay, that is on USD CAD. So we're going to go over this pair right now. All right. So, and by the way, after USD CAD, I want to spend today, all right, I want to spend the rest of today's session talking about or answering questions. So if you have any questions, for example, how to identify this or how do we identify that, please post in the chat room. And if you've learned something new today or any of the other sessions, please make sure to like that button as well. It helps, or comment. It helps with the algorithm. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're on the monthly time frame. Here's our monthly upper zone. Here's our monthly lower zone. Here we see a potential cup and handle formation. Okay, I do not care about these formations. All right, I care about horizontal area of buy and sell sensitivity. I want to know where price is meeting sell pressure, or where buyers are meeting sell pressure, and where sell pressure is meeting buy pressure. Okay, battleground. So here we have our monthly upper zone, monthly lower zone. What's after identifying our monthly zone? Our weekly, right? So here's our weekly upper, here's our weekly lower, and what's in between the weekly? That's right, our daily. So again, just area of battle. Now, our daily zone is weaker than our weekly, and our weekly zone is weaker than the monthly. However, it's still area of respect. Okay, so before we take it to the weekly time frame here, okay, we have a push to the upside, right? Why did we see such a strong move to the upside? This was when the virus was coming out. USD was still safe haven status. Canadian dollar was collapsing due to the demand of crude. Okay, now things started to shift, and we started to see Canadian dollar gain strength against the USD. Okay, so what's this? This is a push to the upside. What's after a push to the upside? Exhaustion to the downside. God, I don't know why everything is freezing on me today. Sorry, team. Cutting the flow out, as you can see. Computer is struggling today. Okay, so push to the upside, exhaustion to the downside. Exhaustion became a push. We failed to see buy pressure re-inject for a continuational move. So that's when exhaustion becomes a push back to the downside. Okay, so we have a push to the downside. What's after a push to the downside? That's right, an exhaustion to the upside. So our flow, our higher time frame flow is saying, hey, price is coming back for a higher time frame exhaustion. Our fundamental directions to the upside, why? USD is at a negative 0.1, Canadian dollar is at a negative 4.4, and even if the USD sees more weakness, we will likely see continued, I should say, stronger weakness in the Canadian dollar. So even though the USD is weak, it's still stronger than the Canadian dollar. So our fundamental direction is still to the upside. And I don't believe that the Canadian dollar is going to get any stronger anytime soon. And the reason is, well, supply-demand curve in terms of crude oil. Okay, demand for crude is going down, supply is going up. Price is dropping, Canadian dollar will follow. Okay, so we take it to the weekly time frame. Okay, now what do we see here? Here's that push to the downside. Exhaustion failed to break our daily mid-range zone. See, this is a push. Exhaustion failed to see buy pressure, so that became a stop hunt here on the weekly time frame. Now buy pressure is testing back to the upside. So let's take it to the daily time frame for a closer look. All right, so very simple. Let's simplify the complicated, right? That's what we do here at FXG. Buy pressure is now testing the daily mid-range zone. We're waiting for the push, exhaustion, and price action confirmation and entry confirmation for continuational move. Okay, so if we get that push, exhaustion, and price action and entry confirmation, where's price's next area of sell pressure? That's right, it's weekly upper zone where TP2 is. Okay, so on the 4-hour time frame, here's that push. Okay, now what can you see about exhaustion? Just one bearish candle. Now who knows? This doesn't necessarily mean the push will complete right now. It could continue to the upside before then seeing a full exhaustion. Okay, but God, I don't know why this is being so difficult. computer's freezing. Anyways, push to the upside, okay? And then we're waiting for price action entry confirmation for exhaustion, okay, team? So for those of you who are part of the gentleman community, that will be on the traffic light signal. Okay, so USD CAD will be posted now. I'll be automatically moving it to yellow, and then we'll be waiting for it to turn to green. All right, so now I'm going to check out what's going on. What's your view on Aussie Coteso? Hopefully I'm saying that name right. He's asking Aussie USD and Kiwi USD, all the way from South Africa. Viva South Africa. For those of you that don't know, I was actually born in Joburg, moved to Canada in 1994. Although I did not grow up in South Africa, we did live there in the summer times for many years until I was about 12 years old. So I'm very familiar with the country, love the country, beautiful country, close to my heart. Okay, so Viva South Africa. All right, so Aussie, what was it? Aussie USD and Kiwi USD. Okay, so the first thing we want to do, my friend, is we want to identify fundamental direction, okay? So the Australian dollar is at a negative 2.3, the USD is at a negative 0.1. So we actually have a weaker USD than we do, weaker Australian dollar than we do USD, which means our fundamental direction on Aussie USD would be to the downside. So let's take it to Aussie USD. Okay, as you can see, price is moving to the downside. We had a potential entry to the upside if price broke area sensitivity. Clearly, we can see that did not happen, okay, when Australian dollar was stronger than the USD. Now, let's identify here our analysis, okay? Firstly, I can remove this analysis now to the upside, okay? I do not believe that we will see any sort of massive strength in the Australian dollar, maybe until after elections against the USD, okay? So we're on the monthly time frame. What do? We identify our area of sensitivity, okay? So here's a monthly upper zone, monthly mid, monthly lower zone. Here's a push, exhaustion, continuational push. This continuational push failed to break our monthly lower zone as expected, even though it had all the fundamental reason to do so. This is government and institutional support, okay? Now, what's this to the upside? That's a push to the upside. Okay, what's after a push to the upside? That's right, an exhaustion to the downside. Sorry guys, my screen here is frozen. It's doing that. Sorry for the cutting the flow. Okay, so again, push. What's after a push to the upside? Exhaustion to the downside. We're looking for what? Continuational move, or if price is able to re-break back to the downside, it's got free range to, that's right, it's monthly lower zone. Okay, so when we take it to the weekly time frame, sorry team, I'm going to do something quick here to try to speed up my computer. I hate how it cuts the flow. One sec. Let's see if this works. Apologize. Okay. So let's summarize again. What the hell is going on here? Okay. Well, we know that fundamental direction is to the downside, right, team? So, God, maybe that didn't help. All right, so fundamental directions to the downside. Sell pressure is reaching our weekly lower zone. What does that mean? If sell pressure is able to beat buy pressure at our weekly lower zone, remember this is an area of battle, then it's got free range to where it's monthly lower zone. Okay, so Aussie USD, what you would wait for is the push to the downside, breaking your weekly, then exhaustion, and a continuational push to the downside. Okay, so that's it for Aussie USD. Let's move it to Kiwi USD. Once my computer starts to figure it out. By the way, this computer should be no shortage of power. Damn. It has its own mind right now. All right. Kiwi USD monthly time frame. All right, monthly time frame Kiwi USD. Here's our monthly upper, monthly mid, monthly lower zone. What's after our monthly zones? That's right, weekly. Here's our weekly upper, here's our weekly lower. What's in between our weekly? That's right, our daily. Okay, so now we have to identify fundamental direction. Okay, so Kiwi right now is at a negative 0.1. USD is at a negative 0.1. Our fundamental direction is flat. It's flat. So what does that mean when it's flat? We have to wait for we have to wait for technicals, okay? I apologize, team. My computer, my CPU is running at extremely high rate right now, meaning it's battling very hard, and it's really frustrating me. Okay, so Kiwi USD, all right? Monthly zones, monthly upper, monthly mid, monthly lower. I apologize for the flow. Okay, here's our weekly upper, here's our weekly lower, and here's our daily mid-range. We know that price saw institutional support from its monthly lower zone, pushing price to the upside. Okay, what's at our weekly lower zone? Buy pressure. Sell pressure. Buy pressure broke sell pressure straight to the upside without any impulse move off our lower, weekly lower. Okay, now let's take it to the weekly time frame. All right, so when there's consolidation, what can we expect? We can expect sell pressure to protect the upside. We can expect buy pressure to protect the downside. What does that mean? That means consolidation, because there is no fundamental pressure to break price either one way or the other. So technicals will support. Oh man, this has got to be one of the more frustrating live sessions I've had. When when your computer freezes, it's like the world's gonna end. Okay, so what does that mean? In my opinion, that means consolidation. Okay, sell pressure will protect the downside, buy pressure will protect the upside, and price will play in between areas of sensitivity until fundamentals take control. Okay, there we go. And you ask, I see that Aussie USD stays relatively trades the same. Listen, the reason why is because they're correlated, right? We know that they're correlated. That fundamentals, okay, they rely on the same trade partners. All right, the Australian economy is larger than the New Zealand economy. So when things are good, things are better for the Australian economy. When things are bad, things are worse for the Australian economy. That's why when things are bad, usually the Australian dollar is weaker than the Kiwi. When things are good, Australian dollar is stronger than the Kiwi. Okay? Then we're waiting for a move. We're just going to go into consolidation, okay? So that's it for Kiwi USD. Let's see here. Jamie's asking view on EuroCAD. Okay. EuroCAD, very simple, Jamie. We're still waiting for price to break mid-range. So we'll take a look here. Apologize again on the flow of this session. This is, as you can see, my computer screen has froze again. Now, this doesn't usually happen, so I'm not sure if it's from my end or not from my end. Okay. On the monthly time frame, monthly zones, area of sensitivity. What's in between our monthly? That's right, our weekly. So here's our weekly upper, weekly lower. Here's a push, exhaustion, push, exhaustion. What's next? Potential continuational push. Let me wait for this thing to unfreeze. Forgot to screen share. Okay, one more time. Monthly time frame. That's what happens when the flow is messed up. It's been really frustrating. Okay. All right. I'll try to do this without killing myself, Jamie. Okay, so here's our monthly zones. Okay, here's prices trading in between these two monthly zones since 2015. Let's pay attention here, okay? We have horizontal sell pressure, horizontal buy pressure. This is higher time frame consolidation. Here's our weekly upper, here's our weekly lower. Again, just battlegrounds, all right? So we see price make its way from its monthly lower zone to the upside. Okay? This is a push. What's after push? Exhaustion. What's after an exhaustion? Continuational push. Exhaustion. What's next? Potential continuational push. Euro is weak. Okay? Virus is spreading. Euro is extremely weak. Does that mean it's weaker than the Canadian dollar? No. Why? Because the Canadian dollar is also affected by the spread of virus due to the demand for crude oil. So again, push, exhaustion, and when my computer decides to stop freezing, I will continue. Thank you, computer. Okay, so what's in between our weekly zone? What's after we place our weekly zone? That's right, our daily. So here's our daily mid-range. As you can see, horizontal buy and sell sensitivity. Okay, so again, push, exhaustion, potential continuational push. If buy pressure is able to break sell pressure at its daily mid-range zone, it's got free range to where? It's monthly upper. Okay? There we go. Perfect. So, Jamie, as you know, buddy, this has been an analysis on the gentleman market. Okay? So, let's talk about entry. We finally saw the push to the upside, right? Then what happened? Exhaustion. Here we have a bullish engulfing candle. Okay? So, could have entered long. And then what? We saw a move to the downside. Okay, so this for some of you would have been a losing trade. For me, I did not find an entry because, well, I was sleeping and I needed my sleep. I had an alert go on when we had an exhaustion, but that happened at about like 3 in the morning or something like that. Okay, so with that being said, we had a bullish engulfing candle. I wouldn't have been upset with you if you entered long here. And then at TP1, although as you can see, TP1 would have been moved higher. You would have had an entry. Now, listen, this is the thing though, okay, that I want to talk about. This is an extremely long bullish engulfing candle. Even if I was awake after the alert, I don't know if I would have entered this. And the reason why is because take a look at the distance to our TP1. It's already almost there. Okay, this is an extremely strong bullish engulfing candle. That tells us that there's already a tremendous amount of buy pressure that has entered the market. Okay. But yes, I likely would have placed an entry, to be honest with you, at the close of this bullish candle. And then we would have lost. So SL came in. Why did SL come in? Why did we see this massive drop to the downside? Because of the weakness in the euro. Majority of Europe is going to lockdown right now. So even though the Canadian dollar is weaker, and we will likely see price make its move back to the upside. What's happening here? Remember, what did UBS say? Cash is king. What's everybody doing? Liquidating. Okay, this is mass liquidation of the euro. And then it just decides to reload. All right. So that's why we would have hit. That's why you hit SL if you were entered long here. Okay. All right, Jamie. Hopefully that answers, buddy. Nick, what are your thoughts on holding a trade over the weekend? A couple of the books I've read advise against it, in case some major news breaks and there's a gap in the price. That's exactly it, Nick. Okay, I don't really. Now, I'm not against it, and if you've really done your analysis. However, during more normal market times, that would be acceptable to leave your trade over the weekend. However, with everything going on right now, as you can see, fundamentals are shifting hour-to-hour basis sometimes. Okay, we'll get an announcement saying that this country has gotten into lockdown and that currency will devalue. Okay, that's exactly what's going on here with EuroCAD. Fundamentals were to the upside yesterday. Technicals were the upside. Okay, and then boom, a move back to the downside hitting SL. Why is that? Because of mass liquidation due to the amount of lockdowns going on in Europe. So, in my opinion, in normal market circumstances, it is okay to leave your trades over the weekend. I do it sometimes if I'm in a long-term trade. However, I have to do my research. Is there going to be any potential situation where fundamentals will change? Yes, market gap is a big thing. Okay, and market gaps are scary because sometimes gaps can actually go through your SL. Okay, if let's say you have market gaps are common, okay, and Brexit, it happened in Brexit, it happened with the virus as well, okay, it happened after Trump was announced president. These sort of gaps, what happens is sometimes you have a stop loss and the market will gap, and actually the order won't be closed. So it's very, very important. Sometimes, not all brokers, okay, some brokers though will do that, okay, where if it gaps, they won't close you out. So it's very important to make sure that you are aware of the risks. And sometimes I would say, you know what? Just lower your risk. All right? Next question would be, just Tom, don't get frustrated. It's nice to see you human like the rest of us. Things go wrong so far. Great show. Thanks, Tom. I really appreciate it. Sometimes it's frustrating because I think the thing with doing this is it's all about the flow. And not just for me, but for people that to learn, right? It's all about the flow. So when I stop because of a frozen screen, it frustrates me, especially when this computer is like a $6,000 computer or whatever, Apple Pros. I have the top-notch one of the Apple Pro. That's a car here. You know what I mean? We're taking people to space and back. We can have a screen share without freezing. All right, especially when a computer costs as much as it does. So, anyways, I'm not frustrated. We'll figure this out. I'm not worried about it. So, team, for next week, the David Dotan show, there's a lot of work going on and updates happening. The Gentleman Markets team should have a very cool update here this weekend. All the bugs will be fixed, plus additional add-ons. Okay, next week for the show, we're going to be doing, it's going to be a long show, okay? We're going to be doing about an hour live with everybody on YouTube, and then we're going to be going to Gentleman Markets purely just for the Gentleman Markets team and members, where we're going to be going over news, we're going to be going over Bloomberg, we're going to be doing education, adding targets to our trades and analysis, going over a bunch of different things, okay? So that's just the way the structure has to go. Of course, I need to provide more value to members that are paying, because they're the ones that are helping grow the business. They're the ones that are helping get to the next level. I mean, if it wasn't for the members, we wouldn't have the Gentleman Market community. As you can imagine, it's not cheap to build. Okay, so everybody, I really appreciate you and your time spending with me here on FXG Live. I apologize for the flow. The CPU is still running at a very high rate. I don't expect it to get any better. That will be fixed for next week if I have to remove all my files from the computer. That's what I'll do. And please make sure to press that like button. Please make sure to comment. Please make sure to tell me if you learned anything new or if you have any questions. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. It would mean a lot. Okay? Anyways, keep rocking, keep learning, keep growing. Remember, proper money management, proper risk reward, identifying fundamental direction, proper technical analysis. You become the casino, not the player. Okay? Keep rocking. Love you all. Thank you again for being